Good evening. I'm Warwick Moss. From the fields of bloody battle, we hear stories of impossible human endurance, of the limbless somehow crawling kilometers through a jungle. We hear of superhuman strength in crisis. It is all about survival. It is all about the will to live. In our average lives, we rarely tap the depths of our own resilience. From the United States, Mary Hughes brings us this story of a woman who has reached her limits and gone well beyond them more than once.
It was real cold, and swam across to her, and she was just limp and purple. She's floating on the top. She hadn't sunk yet or anything, so she was still floating face down. So I had to swim to her.
It is one of those cold winter days in the California desert. Those days when the sun can burn, but water temperature is frigid. Cindy Dunlop is fighting a life and death struggle in the family swimming pool. Her little daughter, Kyla, has fallen in. Kyla is unconscious. On the face of it, the scene is as dramatic as imminent tragedy can get. Yet on this day, there is more danger here than meets the eye. For as she struggles to save her only daughter, Cindy knows too well the precipice the baby Kyla faces in these moments. Little Kyla is at that halfway point between life and death, a neverland in which those who have been there say the human spirit must make a choice to go on to the hereafter or fight for life. Years earlier, in another place, a car accident had left Cindy facing that same precipice.
But I knew I had to make a decision, kind of like being on a fence, and you had to decide which way you were going to go. All of a sudden, I was just back in my body, and I had all this pain. It was either, do I want to go towards the quiet and the peacefulness, or do I want to keep on living? And I think I just decided I wanted to live.
Cindy's confrontation with death happened 12 years earlier when she was 17. The Jeep she was driving to school in the nearby desert overturned on a bend and crushed her ribs, punctured her lungs, and fractured her shoulder blades. And the accident did something else. It completely severed her spinal cord, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down for life. And so the dramatic rescue attempt that is taking place in Cindy Dunlop's desert swimming pool this October morning is against far greater odds than meets the eye. Though Cindy could swim, she had never before gone into a swimming pool without her husband's help, and she had never been able to get herself out.
I could never get out by myself. I just never had the strength to do it.
Yet now, here at her isolated farmhouse in the remote high desert of El Mirage, 145 kilometers northeast of Los Angeles, Cindy finds herself in freezing water, without the use of her legs, her baby daughter drowning, and nobody around to help. It will be up to her, alone. When it happened, Cindy's husband Ron was an hour and a half away at work. Yet he would have trusted no one to rescue their daughter that day more than he trusted Cindy.
I've always known that Cindy could do whatever she had to do. I never doubted that at all.
When somebody tells me I can't do something, I usually do it. So I'm stubborn that way, just to prove I'm wrong, I guess. I don't know.
It was this determination to ignore handicap that brought Ron and Cindy together in the first place.
Moving out here really helped me grow up a lot that way, independent-wise. And I found I could do just about anything I needed to do.
And it was Cindy's determination that overruled the best medical advice that she not attempt to have her baby Kyla in the first place.
It was something I think Cindy always wanted to have a kid. We knew the risk involved. I mean, the doctors had told her not to have a baby for health reasons. But she wanted one. And as she said, when doctors tell her not to do something, she usually does just about the opposite.
But Kyla was born without a problem. They call her their miracle child. And Cindy took on motherhood solo in the desert. Then came this morning in October of 1986.
Ron went to work, and Kyla and I just had breakfast and just were gonna spend the morning out in the sun. We were out there playing and stuff, and then the phone rang, and I went to answer it in the garage, and didn't think I was on that long, but I heard a splash, and I kind of thought, well, I better check her because, you know, our dog did swim in the pool, so I thought, well, it's probably just the dog, but I'll go check. And so I hung up the phone, and I went out there, and she was floating face down in the pool, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The seconds that followed would define Cindy Dunlop's place in the world. For all her past courage in the face of handicap, these next few moments would put her to the ultimate test as an independent woman and as a mother. The morning of October the 7th, 1986, is as vivid and chilling to Cindy Dunlop as if it was yesterday. As a paraplegic bound to her wheelchair, Cindy would be put to the test of her life. It happened suddenly, in the quiet sunlight, as she played in the backyard with her daughter, Kyla.
Mommy, catch the ball.
Cindy's husband, Ron, had gone to work a couple of hours earlier. Cindy and her miracle child, Kyla, were playing together in the sun in the backyard of their remote desert home. The quiet of the morning was broken only by the sound of the phone ringing round the corner from the patio.
Kyla, Mommy has to get the phone. You wait here, okay?
Cindy casually rolled her wheelchair to the house, where she kept an ear on Kyla's movements in the backyard. She could hear her playing with the ball just out of sight, and Kyla seemed safe for a few moments.
Hello? Hi, how are you? I'm just outside playing with Kyla.
While Cindy talked on the phone, Kyla amused herself. It seemed like less than a minute had passed when Cindy noticed she couldn't hear Kyla's sounds anymore. And then she heard a splash.
You know, I just heard something. I'm gonna have to get off the phone right now. I'll call you back later. Bye-bye. Kyla? 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 Kyla!
In that frozen moment, Cindy's past and future flashed before her. Her daughter's life was at stake. Her role as mother and protector was on the line.
I just kept thinking all the way there. I thought, you know, how am I going to get in the pool? What am I going to do?
In that instant, Cindy Dunlop made the most critical decision of her life. Without her legs to support her frantic efforts, Cindy battled over and over again to push Kyla's dead weight from the water.
I got her to the side, and then I couldn't get her out. She was too heavy, too limp. And then I just finally, dove under and pushed up with my head.
Minutes were wasting, and then finally, with a burst of sudden strength she still cannot explain, she had done it. But Kyla still wasn't breathing. She balanced on her elbows, drew herself up, and managed to force a breath into the baby's mouth. Then another, and another. And then, as Cindy had chosen life over death 12 years earlier, Kyla made her decision. There was a sputter. Water ran from Kyla's mouth, and Cindy heard the sweetest sound of her life.
She finally gasped a couple times and started crying, and that was good to hear her do that.
Till this day, Cindy does not know how she performed the second impossible feat of this morning. She pulled her arms over the edge, her shoulders, her torso, and somehow she was there. Even when she was out, Cindy realized she had emerged at the far side of the pool, at the corner where Ron usually helped her out. From there, Cindy could see the baby's limbs were limp, as though she were in shock, but at least Kyla was breathing. Now she only had to get to her, and then the phone.
I knew I was the only one out here. Nobody could hear me, and I just had to do it.
The journey back to her baby and to the house would be almost as epic as the rescue itself. But it was a journey that would allow their lives to go on, that would see Kyla grow into the healthy, beautiful 8-year-old she is today. They crawled toward a future that would never have been, of Kyla learning to ride a horse, of playing average kids' games like mastering a skip rope. By the time Cindy completed her agonizing crawl to make the emergency call, Kyla was breathing normally. Soon her neighbor was there to help. Ron was racing back from work. And Cindy's family was reunited. On that October morning in the El Mirage High Desert, an extraordinary woman found herself at the brink of catastrophe and made an extraordinary decision.
It's